What's up, guys? Why I am 39-year-old, I've been married 4 times, and I have no kids. I get hit up a lot, especially when I do live streams on TikTok, especially where, hey, will you be my TikTok dad? Do you have any kids? Why don't you have any kids? You'd be an amazing father. Here is why I don't have kids, and I've never really shared this before. And this is who I am and how I am, and me realizing how I kind of operate. If you're new to my channel, hit the like and subscribe button. My name is Eric. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm none of that. I'm diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, GAD, and MDD. I lost a wife and a father to suicide. I'm a recovering cocaine and alcoholic addict. And I've been through a lot. I've been in therapy. I've taken meds. I've self-harmed before. I mean, there's a lot. And I found that the more that we share our experiences, the more that it helps nobody go through life alone. And so why I didn't want kids is this. So I've been married 4 times. The first time I got married, I was really young. I was about 19 years old. And her name was Gillian. And Gillian and I were really good friends. We had a long-distance relationship that turned into a marriage. And we ended up getting divorced. And I was about 23 years old. And during our marriage, I'd always wanted to be that dad that I could provide financially. I had a very firm, career. And I wanted to make sure that I had been able to live some of my life. And I wanted those things done before having kids. So it was a big deal to me. During this time, her and I had even talked about kids. We had planned maybe to have some kids. And when I ended up getting divorced, it changed my view that I made a decision to myself that I'll never have kids. And the reason was me. It's not that I have a vasectomy or that I can't have kids. It's that I have made a firm decision, and even everybody I've been with or been married to have been very firm about it, that I don't want to have kids. Not that I don't think now that I could be an amazing father, but at that time I would have been a nightmare, horrible father. And I own that. And I'm very, very open about that if you get to know me. And the reason why is through that first divorce, I had so much anger. I had so much animosity and hatred. I felt used. I felt that everything was used against me. And what was this all for? And I would have been that dad that used that kid as a weapon. I would have used that kid as a weapon. I would have been that dad that would have been in my kid's head, using that kid as a weapon, having the kid, calling up mom, bawling on the phone. Why are you leaving daddy? I mean, I would have been that human being. And I own that. That's who I was. I was not a good person. I was very manipulative. Being an addict, if you know anybody who is in addiction or has been an addict before, we have a very manipulative side to us. And I was that way where if the pain that I felt, others had to feel that times 10. It was like my payback. And I would have been using that kid as a payback. It would have been, instead of my son or my daughter, it would have been my weapon. And I would have been that person. I would have had a very, very messed up child. I would have been that dad that would have been coercing my kid against the ex. And that's not right. And when the divorce got over, I was like, man, thank God I didn't have any kids. One, I didn't want to put a child through that. Because believe it or not, I mean, very few, I think, kids don't need therapy when a divorce goes on. I think a lot of them really do. And I've seen even though marriages where handled the right way, I've seen some amazing kids that come from divorce homes. And I've seen some really messed up kids that have come from homes that stayed together for the kids. I'm not one of those that you stay together for the kids. You guys got to do you. I would have been that parent using them as a weapon. And I'm like, dude, that would have been me. And I don't want to put a kid through that. That is not right. And I started to own that and realized how I am, that's not right to do. I don't need to have kids for my parents or that they're grandparents, any of that. I don't want to be that human being. And I'm very glad that I didn't have kids because during active addiction, addiction took the front of everything. So I wouldn't have been there for the kids. I would have been just a horrible parent. And yeah, I would have been that parent that, at 39, like I am now, I'd be all active, involved in their lives, and we'd be going to therapy together because why wasn't dad in my life for the last 16 years? That would have been me. That would have been how I was. That would be the relationship that I'd have with my child. And I know that. And it's hard. It's hard because when we're filled with emotions, especially if we have anger issues, and I've had anger issues before, one of the things is if you are diagnosed with ADHD, you do get anger. Anger can be a challenge because It's hard for us to explain our thoughts, to get out our thoughts and out our emotions. And I would have been funneling my anger through not only myself and the words that I use and the actions that I use, but I would have been funneling it through a child too. And I know that it would have did a lot of damage. I didn't want to do that. And I was like, you know what? I'm better off and I can do more by not having a child. And there is a part of me that's a little bit selfish. Like, I'm a big kid. I like toys, I like Nerf guns. I am a big kid at heart. But also with that is I have to realize too that there is a part of me, and it's still even in there, that is a little bit selfish, that it's my time, it's me. And I've been still even working through that. And I wouldn't want to be that kid where, hey, my son or my daughter wants to go do this. And I'm like, nope, sorry, it's my time. I'm going to go do this. And I'm doing it by myself because I want to do it by myself. That's not right. And I think it comes down to a lot of honesty of, when you want kids, or if you want kids, why do you want them, and what do you want them, and what kind of life are you going to have with them? I mean, I really owned a lot of my stuff, and looking back, I kind of realized what I did, because I didn't want to be that person. I had a great mom and dad. I had a great on and off relationship with my parents, but all in all, my childhood was really good, and I would have wanted my child to have that same. And I'm glad. I mean, reflecting back, I've been married 4 times. I'm glad I didn't have a child going through that, because again, I would have been that one that weaponized them as much as I could, even later on in life, being like, yeah, see, you took advantage of my dad, because I did play the poor me card a lot. And I played the martyr card a lot. And it wasn't really until I got sober where I had to own my shit and go, no, you know what? I have a lot to do with this. A lot of it was me. I was unfaithful, or I cheated, or I drank, or I got married for the wrong reasons. I had to own all that. And I had to start going through and making a lot of amends, because you know what? I'm not a martyr. I am an adult. I've made decisions, and the decisions that I've made, whether they're right or wrong, are my decisions, and I have to own the consequences. So it was a very big growing up phase to me. Looking back, I'm glad that I didn't have kids. I've been able to impact, even youth, and just the aspect that I can look at it from a different perspective. Because one of the things I have also even noticed is, in even the communities and stuff that I set up, parents handle kids differently than non-parents. And the reason is like, I don't know what it's like to have a kid, so I'm going to talk to you as a human being. I'm going to treat you like an adult, and not from a parental role. I'm going to treat you as a not necessarily equal role. You're younger than I am, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit differently than what a parent's going to talk to you. And I understand a lot of what you're going through, because it's not that my reflection of what I reach back to memory-wise to use as my experiences. None of it has to do with being a parent. And I've dated women that had kids. I have nothing against kids. I think kids are phenomenal. I think they bring a light into our world. And I know a lot of amazing parents out there. And this was a video that I really wanted to share just my personal experience on it, because so many people do ask me, like, hey, how did you go through like 4 marriages and not have kids? Like, is there something wrong with your swimmers? No, nothing wrong with my swimmers. Did you have a vasectomy? Nope, didn't have a vasectomy. I was just a bad human being, and I knew what I was, and I called myself for who I was, and I didn't want to be that dad. And, even looking back, I think it was probably the best decision I could have done, because I didn't influence somebody's life in such a negative, impactful way that I really could have. And I know I didn't. And I know I did the best thing that I could of how I am. And I hope that kind of makes sense, because it's one of those that I think we have to take personal inventory of how we are and who we are to, whether we should have kids or not. This is my personal opinion. This is inside the brain of me. Of, hey, I don't have kids because of this. And you know what? It does give me some of the freedoms that I've always wanted. And I know by this age, especially, I've given up so much of being how I am, that having kids, it wouldn't make me who I am. It wouldn't have given me the passions that I have. I gave up the opportunity to be a dad, but I've gained the opportunity to help just thousands. Well, I can actually say millions of people because of the size of TikTok, but I've been able to help millions of people because I've been able to follow my passions. And I think that there was a reasoning behind it. So that's what I found. I think that we just have to own our shit, know who we are, and really ask ourselves, hey, do we want to be a parent or not? I totally am for that. Because the more that we own who we are and know who we are, the more comfortable we are with who we are, the more that we make it through life, I think so much easier. And hopefully this helps somebody out there, because I know that people out there do struggle with this, in their head, like, oh man, I'm 28 years old and I'm married. I got to have kids by now, or I'm getting too old to have kids. I mean, we run a lot of that stuff through our heads, and hopefully that this helps somebody out there, because I've never really shared it before. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, hit the like and subscribe button, comment down below. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Again, these are my opinions, and I hope that I didn't offend anybody, and I hope that maybe it helps somebody out there. In the description box, there's links to all my different social medias. I have links to the mental health Discord communities for peer-to-peer support. I even have links to things on Amazon that I use, like fidget cubes and fidget spinners. Link to BetterHelp, trial and error to find out what works for you when it comes to online therapy, because all life is trial and error, to finding out what works best for us and digging in on that. I have a link to Renewal Recovery down below, and it's an inpatient recovery center. I mean, you've got to take care of you when it comes to our mental health, and we have to find out what tool works best for us in that mental health and getting our head and getting our thoughts right. I mean, I believe in you because you made it to today, and I'm proud of you because you've never given up. You're a BAMF. You're a badass motherfucker. You made it through 100% of your worst days to make it through 2 today, and you got this.